Hello YouTube. I'm in the woods. We're losing light fast. It's a lot later than I wanted it to be because something really weird happened, like a bit crazy when I got to the woods. But I'll explain that later in the video because right now I need to get my tarp and hammock and everything set up in quick time. So I'm going to get on with that and I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so there she is. That was a bit of a struggle, to be honest, because I don't think I like that bankline as ridgeline. If you saw my last video, sorry I'm losing my voice by the way. If you saw my last video, I was preparing this new ridgeline. You can barely see it because it's made of bankline or tarred twine. Is I think what we call it over here. And it's just thinner and lighter, but it's supposed to be perfectly strong enough as a ridgeline. But the problem is it's made of nylon, I think. And if I get closer, so the ridgeline is there. It was up here and it was straight. And when you tie down your tarp, you always get a bit of stretch down, so you get this angle going up to the tree where the ridgeline gets pulled down by your corners being pinned out. I've got bungees on that side. That's normal, but you normally get a little bit, and you don't want too much really, because you set your ridgeline up high. I mean, I set up almost arm stretch, like not quite, but above my head, and it's ended up with the top below my head, so I can't stand up underneath it. And I wanted to set it up so I could stand up and just mooch about and do what I need to do. So I don't like it because there's too much stretch in it, and that worries me. That it's tarred, it's like got this waxy stuff on it, so if it does get wet, or it shouldn't get too wet, it should be water resistant, but nylon stretches when it's wet, so is it going to stretch even more? Also the knots kind of get stuck and it's difficult to get them undone again, which you don't want with this sort of setup with a lot of tension on it. You want quick release knots that you pull open. And on there I've kept the paracord prussics, reason being because I didn't want to do twine prussics. They will grip really well, but I don't think they would slide, and even these I've had trouble sliding them on this twine. Once there's a bit of pressure on, you know, I set it up and then I wanted to centre the top so that it covers the whole hammock properly. And so I slid this one over, and then that one didn't want to budge. So overall, as a ridgeline, I'm not saying you shouldn't use smaller cord than paracord, because paracord is a bit overkill. But this bankline tarred twine stuff, no, I think I'm going to go back to paracord if I'm honest with you. A little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier, heavier, but it just works better for this. You know, you do your knots better, you can feel what you're doing, it's not so fiddly and thin and annoying. I think this will have good function with other things, but maybe not this. But anyway, it's done, it's okay, it'll work. But it's not as good as paracord, I don't think. So anyway, it's 7:30, sunset I think is about 8, maybe a bit later than that now, but it's soon. So I'm going to get a brew on and hopefully you can still see me. It's getting dark now, actually. Where's my phone? I need to check the sunset. Okay, so the sun sets at 25 past, it's 15:15, or about 10 past. So give about 15 minutes or so. And then, I mean, it doesn't go pitch black straight away, but I am in the woods, so it'll get dark pretty quick. And just made a brew. And I left that boiling with the fire dragon stove, which I showed you in my last video where I was in the woods, and went off to collect some firewood and that. So for quite a while now I've wanted to do a couple of videos, one where I'm wearing as much natural fibre as possible, and then do another one where I'm wearing mostly synthetics. It won't exactly be a scientific experiment, but you know, just to see on a sort of one-on-one comparison how I feel wearing the different fibres. I was sweating a bit getting the wood and sawing through. I'm actually today testing out just using my Victorinox. You will have seen my EDC kit before, but I'll do a close-up. But this, I can't remember what one it is now. It may be like Forester or something like that. It's got a one-handed opening blade. Actually, I think this was based on a Wenger, but when Victorinox took them over, they took it because the lock is actually kind of the other way around to what you expect. It's a bit of wood stuck in there. Yeah, the lock, like, it's weird because you open the knife, but then if you're right-handed, you don't push the lock, you have to pull it. So it's a little bit more awkward to close, but really nice to open with that big hole for your thumb there. And I was just trying out just using this today, not bringing, you know, a Mora knife and a Laplander saw, because they're a bit bulky. So literally, you do most things with just this. This saw is like, the Victorinox saw is really effective. Obviously, it's not very long, and you do have to go for a while, but it does get through. I mean, I'll go through the tools later, maybe, or another video or whatever. But as far as like simple bushcraft stuff goes, it's got what you need. It's got the blade, it's got a saw, and it's got the awl or hole punch, which is probably the three most important tools for out in the woods. And that you could drill holes with that, by the way, and then obviously saw and knife are obvious. So I'm just seeing how it goes with that. Another little experiment. I'm going to let that burn a bit, let it burn down, and then get my burger on there when it sort of settles down a bit, the flames settle down, and then I'll get it restarted after. But hopefully you'll be able to see this. Like I say, I didn't have as much time as I wanted to, but I'll run through some of the things that I've brought with me to try and stick to natural materials, natural fibres. Funnily enough, my what do you call it, you know, my tinder pouch, or whatever you want to call it, fire starting pouch, is an old leather hat. So that's leather and that's natural materials. Obviously bag and bottles and bits and pieces are not, there's no way I can get everything 100% natural materials, because I just, you could do that, but you'd have to specifically go out and buy only natural materials, like specifically for that reason. Just try and look through your wardrobe and get what you've got is a little bit difficult, but clothing wise I've done pretty well. This is a wool blanket, 100% wool blanket. I'm going to be using that in my hammock instead of an under blanket, or what I used last time was a foam mat inside the hammock. So yeah, I hope that that's going to keep me warm enough. I think it's only supposed to go down to like 10 degrees or something like that tonight, so a little bit of protection on the back, plus the insulation from the sleeping bag. I know that gets crushed, but it's there. Hopefully that will be alright, because I'm sick of being cold when I'm camping. We'll start with this, what I'm not wearing, which is my that's 100% wool bushcraft shirt. It's like a shacket, I suppose, what you'd call it. Like, it's quite a thick, heavy wool shirt, and I bought that as extra insulation. So far I haven't needed it, I'm still perfectly warm. What I'm wearing so far now, this is another wool shirt, but this is Pendleton. So they're like a thinner shirt, like a shirt, not a shacket. 100% wool. This one's a vintage one, so it's like from the 90s, I think, something like that, maybe 90s, late 80s, and it's yeah, it's 100% wool and made in USA, so it's one of the better ones if you get the older ones. And look around the vintage shops and they're not expensive. That's the brilliant thing about it. This was something like 20-25 quid. It's in perfect shape, so really good for the outdoors and bushcraft and stuff. If you want something natural to replace a fleece, a wool shirt is a good place to start. Underneath this I've got a merino wool base layer by Icebreaker. That's 100% merino wool, which is, if you don't know, a bit softer and nicer against the skin. And the trousers, I've got these, I can't remember if they're Miltech or MFH or whatever it's called. You know, they're like reproduction army trousers. They're not original issue, in some sort of multicam, but they're 100% cotton. Boots are leather, but you know, most boots are leather, aren't they? They've got bits of rubber and other bits on them, but they're mostly natural. My socks are bamboo. They're my favourite ones, actually. Downside of bamboo socks is that they seem to take a long time to dry. They don't get cold, but they take a long time to dry. But I don't really get on very well with wool socks. For some reason they make my feet itchy and sweaty, and I don't know what it is. I know everyone rants and raves about them. I don't get on with wool socks at all, so bamboo socks for me. I think it's cheating a little bit. There's probably a bit of nylon or a bit of polyester in there somewhere, but mostly bamboo. And I also bought, because I haven't got a rain jacket, there was a chance it was going to rain, but I haven't got a rain jacket. I decided to just not take one because they're all made of plastic. I have got my German Army Flecktarn Parker, which is something like 65-70% cotton and a bit of polyester, so it's like a poly cotton jacket. Again, cheating a bit, but it's natural material based, and it's the closest thing I've got to like a cotton canvas jacket sort of thing. I'll have a little chat about cotton in a bit, because it gets a bad rap, I think, in the outdoors world. Cooking up nicely. Bit of trouble flipping it with the old BCB fold out spook. Could have done with a spatula. It got a bit stuck in there, unfortunately. Shitty little aluminium pan. I need to get a better one, but still, that is cooking up nicely, mate. Well, it didn't take long for this to all turn into cookable Wendy's. Little cheese slice on there. Ketchup. Look at that. Okay, that burger was handsome. I have to say, it was really, really good. Got my sleeping bag and the wool blanket sorted out in the hammock. Not sure how well the wool blanket will work, because it kind of doesn't, you know, it's not rigid, so it doesn't hold the hammock out. It kind of just bunches up. So hopefully that will still be underneath me when I wake up in the morning. But yeah, all done really. Just going to chill out now. But hopefully they'll be long enough without any planes, and my voice will hold up long enough to tell you why I didn't get to my spot as early as I wanted to. So basically I turned up at the woods, walked up a bit, and I see this couple. and I thought, are they going to say something? Because I'm out of where you're supposed to really go. And the guy said, excuse me. I was like, yeah. He said, just to let you know, there's a guy up there. He's covered in blood. He's throwing himself around. And I was like, all right, bloody hell. So your worst nightmare going camping in the woods is some crazy person covered in blood, you know. We talked for a minute and we said, better see if he's all right, you know. Because thinking about it, it's like he's not really hurting anyone else. He's just seemed to be jumping about a bit by himself. And anyway, we went close to him and he wasn't aware that we were there. And he's just throwing himself around. It was quite bizarre. So we called an ambulance, and I was on the phone to him, and they said you need to speak to him and check that he's all right and he's not in any trouble, like breathing wise and stuff. So I spoke to him. I'm not going to go into too much detail because obviously it's quite personal to that guy, and I don't want to put it all over the internet. But basically, you know, he was no harm to anyone but himself, really. But another plane went over. So I spoke to him, and he answered perfectly well. I said, are you okay? And he was like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm just sort of started going on and rambling a bit. I couldn't really get what he was saying, but anyway, eventually gave all the details to the ambulance, and they said they're on their way. And then we spoke to him a bit more, and you know, my initial thoughts was that he's high on mushrooms or something or other. But it turns out that he's just suffering a bit, some sort of mental trauma. And you know, it's funny because the first assumption you think is like, oh my god, some nutter in the woods. It's quite scary, but he kept on saying that I'm just really, really scared. And the poor bloke was just, yeah, he was just suffering, and he was scared, and he actually needed help. So I was really glad that me and this couple as a group decided to come over and speak to him, and not just walk away and go, oh god, avoid that. Yeah, we actually went and spoke to him, and luckily we did, because we helped him. He could still be here now, and he could be freezing, you know, in the woods somewhere. I just hope that guy's all right now. I mean, he got taken away by ambulance, so he's probably in the best place he could be now. It got a bit late, but I thought I'm going to carry on with my camp anyway. Really, really strange thing to see. So when it comes to the other theme of this camp anyway, is, like I said, the natural fibre sort of camp, or as many as possible, with a clothing system at least. I've got to say, yeah, I think they do perform well, natural fibres, with it when it comes to breathability and comfort and stuff. Wool is, you know, I don't really need to tell you how amazing wool is. Wool is brilliant for the outdoors. The trousers are 100% cotton, and I wanted to talk about that a bit because, you know, cotton gets a bad rap. Everyone says that cotton's the worst thing you can wear for outdoors activities and stuff. A lot of the time it is, but it's about using the materials in the right time and place, the right situation, and knowing when to use them. Cotton is like really comfortable and breathable. If it's properly hot, if you know it's going to be properly hot, or if it's hot and humid like in a jungle or something, or if it's just a like reliably hot summer's day, proper hot. You know, I'm reiterating that because, you know, it could be hot during the day and then cold at night. So as long as it's going to stay warm, then cotton's actually a really good material. Especially if you get too hot, you can soak it and it stays wet for a long time, draws the heat out of you. Other than that, it's not the greatest. But honestly, if you're just going somewhere where you're just going to mooch about a bit and you've got your rain gear and stuff, you're not going up mountains or anything. And there are different types of cotton. There are types of cotton that are actually waterproof. Something like Ventile or cotton canvas tops and tents, where the fibres, when they get wet, they swell and join and close up all the gaps and actually become waterproof. So it's not as simple as just saying cotton's bad. And I think everyone's getting a little bit fed up now with, well, not everyone, but a lot of people are getting a little bit fed up now with just being sold plastic clothing. Basically everything's just basically made of plastic and charging a lot for it. I just find that a lot of polyester sports tops and stuff, they just make me really clammy and sticky. And they say they're moisture wicking. I could talk all day about how much bollocks that is. Moisture wicking, they make you stink and they make you sweat more. I mean, some tops are better than others. I've got some that work quite well. It's a base layer for the outdoors, and they do dry really quickly. The reason they dry really quickly is because they never get wet in the first place, really, because they're made of plastic, so they're not absorbent. So, you know, I'm not really dead against the use of polyester and stuff. I think they can be really, really good. Yeah, I've come away from the hammock now because I was attracting insects with the light. You know, I'm not going to preach to people about not using polyester and using natural materials. It's just something that I'm interested in trying to do more. When you're in the outdoors and that, you can't help but start to care about the environment. You know, constantly using plastics for clothing, it can't be good, can it? Oh, I'm interested in the performance wise. You know, the modern synthetics do tend to be a whole lot lighter weight. Really weird noise that was. I don't know what that was. Yeah, they do tend to be lighter weight, quick drying. They solve a lot of the problems really easily. But yeah, I do like natural materials, especially like wool. Wool just performs so well. Tomorrow morning we'll see, you know, talk about it a bit more and see how it performed. And then, like I said, next camp or over the next couple of camps or whatever, I want to try one of them having as much synthetics as possible and seeing how that goes. Performance wise, mixing the two works really well, but I find that you tend to get a lot of static, especially with wool and polyester together. You get so much static. Really weird noise again. Might record again tonight, I'm not too sure, but otherwise I'll see you in the morning. Okay. Yeah, a bit chilly when you get up. Fully wrapped up now, so I am using the poly cotton jacket. Cheating slightly on the natural materials, but it's still natural based. Oh no. Sorry, little fella. This moth climbed into the candle and got stuck by the looks of it. Wayfarer all day breakfast boiling up there. Fire dragon. Starting to pack my gear away slowly, but yeah, it's a really nice morning actually. You can see pockets of sun. If you can see one there, that light patch over there is like pockets of sun breaking through the woods. Like I said, I did get a little bit cold last night. The wool blanket didn't quite cut it as a under blanket kind of thing. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't quite enough. I think the foam pad, well, we'll find out next time maybe if the foam pad works better. I don't know if I'm going to do a hammock camp next time though. But yeah, but it's still handy to have a wool blanket, because if you don't bring enough layers of clothes, maybe you make a mistake, don't bring enough layers, you can always wrap yourself up in it. You can put it down on the ground, so when you're sitting down on the floor it's not as cold. And obviously you can put it under you as extra insulation underneath you, so it's a handy thing to have, but it's another bulky item to carry as well. Yeah, but just a minute ago 2 guys come walking over. They had cups of coffee or tea in their hand, and I thought, at first I thought, oh, here we go, and I thought, no, they must be campers, because you know, they got a hot drink in their hand. It looks like they've just woken up and made a drink sort of thing. And yeah, they just wanted to chat. Basically, they said we're camping just a few hundred metres that way, so had a little chat and that, and might go over and say hello in a bit, see if they're still there. Can't beat that really. So yeah, conclusions of the stuff that I'm using today. I think the natural fabrics have worked really well. Obviously it is a bit, tends to be more bulky. The natural material that isn't bulky is down. A down jacket would be a good choice, but I've avoided down because I know there's been a lot of cruelty involved in the industry, even when things have been certified as animal friendly down or whatever, you know, where they make sure the birds are slaughtered first and humanely and all this business. But even companies that have claimed that have still been caught out. A lot of these certifications don't really mean a lot. Then on top of that, yeah, this is England, it's always damp and wet. And down doesn't like wet. It doesn't perform well in damp conditions, so. And you got to think the shell of the jacket isn't natural anyway. Yeah, the shell of the jacket is like nylon or whatever. So it's not a natural fabric jacket to me. I think there are, I was trying to look up, see if they exist, and there are actually some jackets that are like cotton or maybe like Ventile on the outside with a down feel, but they're really expensive. So you have to rely pretty much on just layers of wool, which gets pretty heavy. When it comes to the benefits, pros and cons, bamboo viscose, I think it's called. It's got a lot of the same properties as wool. What I will say is that the bamboo socks that I've got take a long time to dry, so I don't think it's very quick drying. It should stay warm when it's damp. It's naturally antibacterial and got a lot of the same properties as wool. Obviously wool, it's got lanolin in it, it keeps bacteria at bay, doesn't get very smelly. It stays insulating even when it's wet. I don't think it dries particularly quickly, but it doesn't get that wet very easily because it's a little bit water resistant naturally. Cotton trousers, very breathable. Didn't get Betty Swallocks in the sleeping bag, nothing like that. They're really breathable and really comfortable. Like I say, if they get wet, they're pretty horrible because they're going to stay wet and they're going to draw the heat out of your body and make you really cold. So if you are going to wear any cotton, it needs to be protected, or you need to have a base layer and a mid layer and then cotton on the outside, which I think a lot of outdoorsmen used to do. They used to wear cotton outers because it's tough. It can be quite tough and abrasion resistant, and as long as it's not, you know, near your skin, it shouldn't make you cold. As long as you've got wool layers underneath, it's kind of okay as an outer layer. So yeah, next time full synthetics, and we'll see how they perform in comparison. Like I said, I know it's anecdotal, it's not a scientific experiment, but it'll be quite interesting. Easy way to put your tarp away, by the way. Keep it connected, bring the two ends to the middle, and then stuff it in your sack. Say easy up. Yeah, that's about it. I'm all packed up. Leave no trace, by the way. Yeah, I'm just going to have a mooch over here, see if those guys are still there for a chat before I go. Apart from that, I'm done. Oh, last thing to say is that, yeah, that tarred twine, mariner's twine, bankline, as a ridgeline, nah. I'm not liking it. It's too fiddly, it tangles up too easily, the knots are a nightmare, and the prussics don't slide well. So, back to paracord. Anyway, until next time, have a good one. There's a whole family of them. Loads of them. They won't let me get anywhere near them.